There's a show involving a piece of Sacramento history that's available right now. It's actually a documentary, and you can watch it on YouTube. It's called So That Happened, Stories from the Sacramento 80s Music Scene. It was something I was part of, which I guess explains my interest. But I'm talking with a filmmaker now. Kurt McCaleb is not only a filmmaker, but he's also a musician and I would call him pop culture historian, and he has been working very diligently on this series and brings in some of the biggest names from that time period in Sacramento, which was a time like none other. So, Kirk, thank you very much, first of all, for being with us.
Thank you, Katie, very much for having me.
Yeah. So I'm just curious how this idea came to you to make an extensive docuseries. I mean, that you're putting tons of work and time into this. So why?
Well, really started back. Well, I became a musician when I was about 7 years old, taking drum and guitar lessons, and it was in 1982 when I graduated from high school. The band that played at our high school senior prom was Steel Breeze. Remember Steel Breeze?
Oh, I sat in with them.
Yeah. And so here they were. They've got a record on the radio, a hit record on the radio. They had a major record deal, and they're playing at my high school dance. And I thought, that's what I want to do. So graduated from high school. About a month after high school, I auditioned for a band that was already out there and playing in the clubs in Sacramento, and got the gig and spent the next decade having an absolute blast playing gigs from Sacramento, Davis, and the Bay Area.
And you're a drummer.
And I'm a drummer. Guitar player and drummer, but back then I was playing drums. Yeah, a couple different bands. I even played in a band that opened up for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
But then time goes by, I'm in a different career now. I'm in physical therapy, and I have a side business where I do video production. And but I got real nostalgic about last year, about the 80s in Sacramento and how much fun it was. And I had other people that were saying the same thing. And I looked around, and I really didn't find anything out there like a documentary or anything that I could sink my teeth into. And so I thought, well, why don't I do it? So my first goal actually was to do a documentary proper, a 90-minute documentary. And but then as I started doing interviews, it just seemed that there was just so much of a story there. And I wanted people to tell their story individually rather than me just having little sound bites to put together. So that's really kind of how it started. I also contacted my good old friend, Johnny Pride from the Features. And so him and I worked together on this. And I've got 9 episodes out right now.
Which is really an incredible amount of work. As I've said, anybody that has been involved with this type of thing knows. I mean, there's a lot of footage, there's a lot of editing, not to mention just setting the whole thing up. And so with 9 episodes already, can you tell us some of the folks you've talked to?
Well, last year, Kitty, was a pretty busy year for me. I did around 25 interviews for this project. And some of those people included Brian Wheat from Tesla, Johnny Pride, Waylon Carpenter, and Curtis Mick from the Features. Johnny Pride actually has been helping me out quite a bit with some of the historical aspects of this whole project.
Nice.
We got Skid Jones and Paul Nix from Go Dog Go and Magnolia Thunderfinger. Jay King from Club Nouveau, Caron Vickery from Crayon, Anton Barbeau, Roger Smith from Tower of Power, and Harrison Price. Some of the bands like Internal Affairs with David McNeil and Don Hawkins, and the Antics. With the Antics, it was kind of funny because these guys hadn't seen each other for about 30 years, and they got together specifically to do this interview. So when I came over to actually interview them, there was a party already going on, and I just had to come in and join it. It was actually quite cool. And then Dave Carnez from the Earwigs, and club promoter Carol Gale from Club Cantel and Cantel Productions. These are just some of the few of the people that I've interviewed thus far.
What a great array of people.
All these people got their start here in Sacramento in the 80s, and they and kind of branched on and moved on and now come back. So it's interesting how people who started in the 80s got their careers going, and some of them, even musicians that are out there playing, top name gigs, are coming back to Sacramento because Sacramento is their home, it's their roots. And I just found that time, the 80s, to be an incredible time, as I know you did as well.
Yeah, and I've got an episode coming up myself.
Yeah,
Right?
that's exactly right. So February 14th, folks, I'll be airing episode 10, which is featuring Kitty O'Neill and Kurt Spataro. They both played in a band called Secret Service back then. And I really enjoyed our time together, our interview, and I hope you did too.
I did. And I haven't really given that chapter in my life that much thought
I
since
feel
then,
fortunate.
So it kind of had me digging deep and finding out things that I had forgotten.
Right.
And, it was kind of, my memory was jogged on a lot of things. So it was a fun experience to kind of go back and think about all that.
You and your husband were very gracious, and I thank you.
Oh, well, it was our pleasure. What I'm curious about is, I know how it impacted me. And as I was going back in time and thinking about what it meant in terms of the town and the culture in that era, I'm curious what other people have been saying. Have you found in the ones that you've done so far, has there been any kind of theme or some common ground that you found from all these people that you've interviewed as they recollect that time?
Well, first of all, an incredible time for music in Sacramento. You could go out and virtually every night of the week and see a live band. We talk about that. And most of them they have fond memories of not just the time, but the music and the freedom that we all had to express ourselves in so many different ways, from fashion to the various styles of music. I mean, you had punk, you had rock, you had covers, you had new wave, you had the music business at that time was really making a huge change, not only in the fashion, but in the music itself. And I'd say the common theme that everybody talks about is how special it was, and that we just have never seen that level of music again in Sacramento. Not to say that nowadays there's a lot of great music out there, but there was something about the 80s that just did something for a lot of people, and they're wanting to open up about it.
Yeah. It's interesting when you juxtapose that time to this time. I mean, there were so many young artists now finding their voice on YouTube and TikTok and that kind of thing, which was not available to us at all.
No.
So we had to do it in person. And, it was I'm going to say it was a little harder road. I mean, we had to hustle. We had to get out there, talk to club owners, drive all over California and Nevada, hang flyers on the weekends,
right.
On telephone poles. I mean, it took a lot of just even physical work to get your name out there and drive into record stores and all those things that we did. And now, kids can sit at home and turn on their camera and record themselves and just put it out there. It's a very different scene right now.
Yeah, it is. And I think the rewards of spending a little bit extra time. I remember my dad always used to say, if you're going to do a job right, do it right the first time. And if you're going to do something, put all your effort into it. And I think we put a lot of effort into what we did and trying to be good and trying to be relevant and it was fun. It was just a lot of fun. And I miss those days. But that's why I'm doing this series, is so we can reminisce about them.
Well, what we had, because we had to do it the way we did, is much more of a very vibrant social scene. I mean, because that's where it was. I mean, now you can do stuff online and you can Zoom and you can chat and you can do all those things. But we were there in person, and, you felt the energy, you felt the vibe. I mean, you were there. And that, I can kind of see where that is kind of exciting to remember. Because, and I've said this, I think, in Mar's segment, that I kind of feel sorry for the kids now that they don't get to go out and feel it the way we felt it. We felt it.
Yes.
We felt it.
And I don't know if there'll ever be another time like that. So do you remember the first time that you went into a record store and you actually saw a record in the rack that had your name on it?
That's exciting.
That was exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the K-Zap record.
Yeah, K-Zap. And the band that I was playing with at the time was The Veil. And it was just an amazing thing. And that's a record store tower I used to go into all the time and buy records. And then to see your record in that record store was just, you felt like you made it.
Absolutely. I know. There were just things that were very unique to that period. And I guess that's what you really try to focus on in this docuseries.
Yeah.
And it goes, I think, a little bit beyond just the musicians and their particular journey, because it was the 80s were a very special time in our culture.
Yeah.
And you can't look at what you're looking at without bringing in the whole impact of what the 80s were like.
Yep.
And so it's, there's that historical component for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have other people tell their stories rather than me come up with a narrative. I wanted people to individually tell their stories. That's why I made it more of a docu-series, so that people could tell their story from their point of view, because we all had individual points of view from wherever we were at that time. So,
is everybody that you talk to, are they all still in music today, or have some of them kind of left that behind, or where are most of the people that
Some of them have left it behind, but a lot of them have expanded and doing different things. I've got one guy that I just talked to, the last episode I put out, Dave Carnes. He got into guitar making and refurbishing and restoration and actually making guitars. And so people have branched out. Roger Smith, he owns a winery. He still plays in Tower of Power. So people, but they all come back to Sacramento, or they branch out and they come back to Sacramento. And I think that says volumes about Sacramento and what this place means to the people who were part of the 80s scene, but are also coming back.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a beautiful full circle thing there. Yeah. Well, you have 9 series. I know ours is the 10th, releasing, as you said, on Valentine's Day. Appropriate, since we're a husband and wife team.
That's
yeah, right. How many are you going to do in total?
I don't know. I told Johnny Pride, who I've been working with, that I would probably do this for 2 years, and I think that would be whether I finish it all or not. I might hand it off to the next generation of people to, hey, you take it over now. 2 years is what I've given it. I've got at least another 7 or 8 episodes in the bag that I have to edit, and people that I've interviewed. And I've got about 3 or 4 more interviews that I'm really interested in doing. One of those is the guys from Steel Breeze. So I've got to round them all up and get them to be part of it. But probably 2 years, and then after that, I think that'll be enough.
Well, that's a significant achievement. I mean, even having 10 is amazing. To go beyond that, really, Kirk, is something to be said, since it's not your main focus. You're a physical therapist.
I'm a physical therapist, and I have a family and grandkids and the whole shebang.
So what did they think of your project? Are they like, oh, Dad's doing his 80s thing? I mean, do they appreciate it, or how's that?
They appreciate it in their own way, yeah. So Dad has always been involved in music, and so what's Dad into now? So, no, they're supportive of it. But this is really kind of a personal journey for me, as it kind of helped me to not only enjoy the past, but see how it's impacted me as a person in what I do for a living, and how it helps me to interact with not only my family, but my community.
So it's brought you a lot of introspection.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's times I wish that I made it in the music business, and there's times that I go, I'm glad I didn't make it in the music business. It's a tough business. But the times that we had back in the 80s was special. And I just wanted to capture that, not only for myself, but other people that are interested in it. And I really encourage people to share it, spread it, share it on Facebook, YouTube, everything. I'd like to give you the places where you can actually find it.
That was going to be my next question. How do you watch it?
Oh, yeah. So on Facebook, you can go to So That Happened. And if you want to just go straight to the YouTube channel, it's So That Happened Sacramento.
Easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll come up with a little dot that says 80s Sacramento. And I always tell people, watch the trailer first and then go from there and watch the rest of the episodes.
Okay. Well, you might find yourself addicted to it. Okay. Yeah. Well, again, ours comes out on the 14th. As I said, Valentine's Day. It'll be fun to watch. And well, Kirk, thank you on behalf of people who were in the music scene, who loved the music scene, who want to learn about the music scene in the 80s in Sacramento. This is a great window into what was happening at that time. So I'm glad you've chronicled all of it.
Me too. Yes, me too.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, it's Kirk McCaleb, and we'll put the links maybe where people are listening to this podcast in its entirety, so they can get there real fast.
Thank you so much, Kitty.
Congratulations on this incredible undertaking. You're doing a great job. So thank you.